So, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to those of you who haven't been in here yet, and we thank you all for joining us for the final educational session of PDMI West 2022. And it's a great group. It's always a pleasure to have Mark and Maria on stage. Welcome to Max to being on stage. I think this is the first time you've done something for us, so that's tremendous. All these years. Thank you, Max. And Max, of course, is Vice President of Sales
and
Marketing at Pacific Media Technologies, who happens to be our educational session sponsor. We'd like to thank PMT for their efforts. They've got a video to share with us, so please take a listen.
We trust PMT because we know they're professionals. We've been working with PMT for over 20 years.
They're the most customer friendly, they're the most timely, the most accurate.
They are really wonderful with their technology and the advancements of their technologies that they implement.
They treat us like we're the only client that they have.
Whatever we need, we know it's going to get done. So that's really important to us, that personal connection.
Pacific Media Technologies. Technology driven, quality guaranteed.
So thank you one last time to PMT for their support of the show. We are here for the Media Outlet Roundtable, an old classic at our show. But there's always new topics to talk about, and that's always the case today. So we have Mark Sullivan, Vice President of Convergent Ad Sales at Paramount. I almost said Viacom. At Paramount. And Maria Kennedy, who's SVP of Performance Marketing, Performance Ad Sales at Family Entertainment TV. So go ahead, folks. Take it away. Thanks, Max.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, and I just wanted to say that Pacific Media Technologies was very proud to sponsor the education sessions. I wasn't able to go to all of them because I'm in sales and sometimes you have to sell stuff, but the ones I did attend were all great, and I want to thank Tom and all the people on the councils that have participated in the panel discussions and the other people not on councils that were also representative. And I'm very happy to have these two industry veterans with us. We met a couple of times, prior to the show to go over some questions, and I'm not going to try to make them embarrassed or uncomfortable, hopefully, with any of the questions, but I think we're ready to go. There is one thing Tom and John brought up before the show, is maybe this last session next year they bring a bar in. I think maybe it'll increase the number of people that stick around for the last thing. I told them I was going to say that. I hope I'm not ruining a surprise for next year.
PMT's going to continue to be the education sponsor, then,
I also want to
put it right here.
We'll have a bartender for you guys.
Please.
And this is our last chance to thank Tom, JY, and the team at PDMI for another great show. You guys do a fantastic job, and looking forward to coming to Miami to meet with you down there. So,
Yes.
So without further ado, it's been kind of a tough year, and we've heard about it, throughout the show. So, how has the recent inflation in prices and recession worries affected media companies and agencies and advertisers, and how they've transacted with you over the course of the last year?
Talk about a tough year, huh?
Yeah.
We're bringing up the rear at the show. It's a vastly different year than 2021 was, for numerous reasons. I mean, the line, I know there's midterm elections are coming up in a couple weeks, and the line I keep hearing is from 1992, James Carville saying this: "The economy's stupid," and it is. It's been. I attended the agency roundtable this morning, 9:30 to 10:30, and media spend was a big topic, and just different, how it's somewhat decreased from a year ago, and it's accurate, and we're seeing it on linear, declining budgets somewhat, and in streaming as well. It's growing, but not at the pace that we had seen a year ago. So I think that's just, something that we're all dealing with and trying to work through, and hoping that holiday season here kicks into gear in a week or two. We shall see.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to fourth quarter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But different strengths, certainly a different fourth quarter for everyone, and we're all going through it together. But I think what big positive sign is that there are still so many new advertisers coming into play, and agencies are getting new accounts all the time, and we're all working together to try to figure it out. I can truly say that nobody in this room has ever seen anything like this quarter has been for all of us, and I think that we're all in it together. We've been through it before, and we're going to get through it again. So we're all pretty smart and a little bit creative maybe in here, so I think that we all have the opportunity for growth, and we'll find that way. Just like the clients will find their audiences wherever they are.
yeah, working together is the key.
Working together is the key.
Name some ways that this marketplace has changed your individual business models, if at all.
Do you want to answer?
Sure. Yeah, a year ago, again, the inventory levels, not just across our cable portfolio, but for linear, but across the industry, where inventory was tighter. So we were writing deals last year, just for agencies to secure inventory, hit this amount of dollars at these rates, and we'll secure this inventory for you to clear, because it was a challenging time on the agency advertiser side, trying to get inventory, and this year it's the exact opposite. So what we've been doing the last few months, or probably since second quarter, is trying to offer added value components to secure media spend. At this point, so that's definitely something we haven't done in quite some time, and we've been doing a bunch of that this year, and that's been one way it's changed.
Yeah, I mean, we're all seeing that clients are holding on to their dollars, and they certainly have less dollars than last year. But again, they're not willing to take the risks, and we're all seeing that. But different networks have some success. We've had a lot of success. Thankfully, we're still growing, as opposed to a lot of other people that are not. But we're always open to, what are your suggestions? We all need to talk to each other, and we all need to work together to move the ball forward. And I'm seeing that. It has been challenging, but we all do still have an opportunity here to work together to bring it forward. And I see that we are. It's just not going as quickly as we would all want it to go.
Yeah.
Right?
You see that? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. There's not as much scattered general business booked in fourth quarter this year compared to last year. How does this inventory affect performance media groups and how they do business? And is there an opportunity there for marketers?
Yeah, I think there's always an opportunity for marketers, and on linear especially, where I've seen success in the pharma industry using longer length spots. I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, but there's a lot of clients out there that have been successful going back old school to using maybe 2 minutes on linear, as opposed to, you can't get that on CTV. So hey, if I'm not working or I'm not as efficient on CTV now, maybe I produce a 30, a 60, a 120, and a 3 or 4 minute, maybe even a 5 minute, again, to have the clients be able to tell a story. And I think that that's an opportunity that not a lot of people are looking at right now. And I really do believe that it is something that we should maybe readdress. And
I couldn't agree more. We're kind of we've spoken about this. We're kind of missing that middle level of not necessarily a hybrid account, not necessarily down here on what somebody's willing to pay, but somewhere in the middle at the 120 level, 60s and 120s. That could be. This is a time to really, I think, for marketers and agencies alike to relook at that and look at those lengths and see.
Take a second look at it. And again, not all networks are in the same position. There are some that are still growing. There are some that have grown their upfronts by a lot.
They're matured.
I'm not here to just talk about me, but,
right.
But yes.
If I talk about age, you'll knock me out.
Absolutely. We are the anomaly because we are still growing, but most of us understand this marketplace and know that it has been a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
And a follow-up to that, what are your companies doing now or maybe discussing, and we've touched on that a little bit, given the current market situation, to entice advertisers and agencies to increase their media spend?
Listen, I think what's going on, let's say in the stock market this year, is a lot of money switching from growth to value, and I'm going to align that with linear TV spend. And what I heard this morning from our agency partners at that roundtable as well is that there's efficiencies are in linear right now compared to a year ago, and not to say, that's the value that from what our agency partners are saying and what we're seeing is that money is shifting over from linear, right? But it's a large bucket. There's some inventory levels that we collectively haven't seen in a long time. And when last time we saw those, 08 to 11, there was that 60s and 120 middle ground that doesn't seem to be around right now, which is challenging.
And then in speaking with so many of you in the past few days, it does seem like it is the perfect time to maybe revert back to old school and get those 2 minutes going, because they're certainly more efficient on linear for clients, and it does allow you to tell your story, and you get to educate and entertain. And on a lot of networks, let's face it, linear's older skewing now, right? Whether we want to say it's 35 plus. It's really sort of not 25 plus. Well, it's 25 plus, but it's not really 25 to 54. It's more 35 plus now. So, again, marketers are smart. They're going to find ways to find their customers, and they're going to find ways to deliver the most efficiencies to them. And right now, that is in linear television. Still the biggest reach, and it's still the most efficient medium for most people.
For most people, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And value. I think the value is there. I was hearing a lot in 2021 that it was too expensive.
Right.
Rates were too high, and it wasn't working overall. So we were, trying to. We have the benefit at Paramount. We sell across 22 networks, right? So we have a lot of reach there, obviously. So we always, whether it's a strong marketplace on either side of the aisle or weak on either side of the aisle, we always try to find the right fit for
the advertiser.
For the advertiser. Dollars come in and maybe it won't work, doesn't look good on one channel or one network, or day part, we're going to find that other network or day part. But I think what I'm hearing is the value is there on linear, whereas last year there was some questions about the efficiencies based on inventory levels. So I think that again, there's it's about finding the right home. This sounds pretty basic, like it's the economy, stupid.
Or product.
But a product for like for instance.
The sweet spots for your spots.
Like Yellowstone is our top show.
And that was supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
all right, I tried.
Yellowstone is our top original. And one thing that we've been very happy to see over the course of the year has been some marketers really looking to go into original content and willing to pay the rates to get in that content, because the original content is delivering. We had an advertiser a marketer tell us season 4 of Yellowstone, which was last year. Season 5 is coming out November 13th, Paramount Network.
Subtle plug.
It's not about us, Mark.
Kevin Costner. So it delivered, even at the high unit rate that we required for that show, it delivered 65 times what a regular ROAS spot would deliver on that network. So I think they touched on it this morning about like Super Bowl, spots and sports and
how much you want to spend. Yes. Yeah.
Premium content. It's a high risk, high reward if it pays off. So I think that's something.
Premium content is key. It's key
premium
to success, right? People will pay to
king.
find it, and they'll pay to be there, and it's the right environment for a lot of advertisers.
Yeah. We've been, yes, 100%, and that's been a bright spot. That's probably one. I think that's one of your questions down. What's the bright spot of this year? I'm just going to jump to the end.
We'll hold
but
off
that's
on
been
that
a bright
one.
spot. Yeah,
You
that's
don't
been
have
a
to
bright
do
spot.
the questions in order, Max.
Well, I asked you how you wanted them. Remember?
Yeah.
I like to jump around.
No, this is the first time they've heard these. So, yeah. In the past, when the general markets were soft, or the scatter markets were soft, it led to some opportunities in direct response performance media. Can you explain what you're seeing out there in the marketplace, and do you foresee any new and efficient ways that performance marketers will be able to increase their ROI?
Okay, well, I think we touched a little bit on
We
it
did.
before, and you were talking about premium content, but I'm thinking that we absolutely have to look at different ways of selling, right? A lot of times direct response marketers sell by day part. Maybe it's time to look deeper and dive deeper and sell by program and look into stunts and sponsorships and work with clients to, do really fun stuff that only the general side used to get to do, like program exclusivities and, billboards, animated billboards, limited commercial interruption. We can offer those opportunities now, and this is the time to be able to do that, and we can step up and do the same thing that the general side can do with the clients and make it be a better environment for you.
Yeah, that's been a large shift
Yes.
from 3 to 5 years ago. Let's
We're
say
not allowed to do it.
we were not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're for the right amount of spend, we are able to.
Yeah,
do that.
we're all creative, and we should all have that opportunity to work with clients and give you all the opportunity to see how well that could work for you, and not just look, like, I hate just looking at one day part, or, we didn't look at this day part. Well, let's look at this program maybe, and let's look at program specific here, and let's do this stunt here, and let's see how it goes, because we're just so used to doing the same thing, but we have to pivot. Now's the time to pivot and try new things.
Yeah, the market's forced you to pivot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great, good comment. Your agency partners, as we've heard, in these discussions, are also facing some issues. Are clients, do you think, wary of spending in these economic times?
Yeah, we've seen clients hold on to dollars, and I've also seen them spend a lot closer to air, where a lot of times you used to book, a quarter in advance. Now they're booking a month. Sometimes they're booking a week, and then they're adjusting it in that week. So yes, I think it's fear-based buying right now. And I really do see that clients they don't want to take the risk, and they want to stick to their core networks. But we need to help them to feel more comfortable with, not just buying the same old thing. You have to keep looking out of the box, and you have to just keep trying to find better ways for yourself and communicate with us. We want to talk to you. We want to hear what you have to say. I mean, when you're successful, we're successful. So we definitely need to create a better environment of collaboration and communication.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's on every point Maria made. Definitely much more conservative in terms of buying and at the moment, and budgets are close to air, like you said. Mm-hmm. And I for one, I thought October was going to be kind of bumping back up in October, and it's been a little more flat. So fingers crossed for a couple weeks for the holiday season here. But it's been now is the time to try to expand, and there are some deals out there I think that could be had across the landscape. And I say this a lot to my team, but just want to negotiate. Please come with something to negotiate, and we'll figure something out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we'd like to see that spend ramp up as well.
Yeah.
So a follow-up to that, if these clients are experience a little wariness, how can you work with them to ease that?
Well, I'm going to go real old school here and say, pick up the phone and call us and actually talk to us and let us understand where you're coming from. What are your needs? What are your challenges? We're all challenged. So unless we know what you want and what you need, we can't help you. We can think we can help you, but again, I really do think that people need to speak to each other. I think it's a lost art talking on the phone. Who talks on the phone anymore?
Yeah.
It's crazy. You do? Okay, good. Thank God. At least there's someone out there. But I think it's really, really important that we all could speak to each other and really learn about what each client's individual needs are. And we could only find that out by everybody talking to each other. So I think that is so incredibly important, and it will help us to help you, and then in turn you could help us. So it's all good.
Yeah, no, ask anybody on my team who's sitting here. I'm always about to pick up the phone, please. Pick up the phone. Did you talk to them? Yeah. Come to the table.
I've seen that, in my career. I mean, I'm old school. I like picking up the phone and talking, but it seems like is a lost art to communicate.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to communicate.
That's right. No, not just that way.
Which is also, although why it's so nice to be back at an event like this.
Exactly,
and
live events.
Pretty well attended. Been 3 years, I think, since we've been out here. So it's nice to see everybody and be able to talk one-on-one in person, and solve the world's problems.
Yeah. Work together.
I think
to
we have
solve
a few of our own first.
We do,
and then we can work through the world.
All right. That's next. That's
Us, then the world.
That's therapy for me. So,
Good.
yeah. It seems like there have been a sharp increase over the past few years of shorter length spots, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but we're seeing more 10 seconds, 15-second spots as opposed to the 30, 60s, and 120s. Do you think that advertisers with more abundant inventories maybe in the marketplace have some opportunities? And we kind of touched on that a little bit, but doing more 60s and 120s?
Yeah, they are in the marketplace. There are pharma companies out there doing 3-minute spots now, and they're doing them successfully. We see tort law spots out there that are doing longer length spots, 5-minute spots. It is the opportunity now to, when you're creating a new spot, don't just cut a 30 and a 60. You might want to cut, 1s and 2s and 3s. And God, I feel like I've said this for so long, but it feels like what's old is new again right now, and people just need to try to figure it out. And if a pharma company has the opportunity to have a longer length spot and really talk about what they could do, I think it would only be beneficial to everyone. And those spots are not disruptive. They're actually educational. I want to know about what's going on in the world, and I want to know about what new drugs are coming out that could help people, and I want to see, what could be the potential side effects, or, how it could help, and how they're rolling it out. I think that, there are so many categories that could benefit. Beauty is another one. Telecommunications is another one. There's all these new technologies coming out, and people they don't really understand how they work, and the longer length spots will allow the advertisers to tell their stories. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, even the FinTech or the Health RX 15s and 30s you see in the D2C category, I think, we'd like to see some of those marketers look at maybe a 60, just a little bit longer spot, just to see what kind of
Test it.
And
test it. Now is the time. That's an important. Now is the time to test it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Opportunity to test.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Every agency person I have been speaking with in the last few days have been confirming that, it still is. Yeah, that 60 is going to work better than 230s, and as you get longer, it will. And it doesn't really, if you're doing it all at the same time. And I'm not saying do it one thing in lieu of another thing. I'm saying do it in addition to. I think it will just help the overall media mix. And again, while there's inventory, and I have a feeling that inventory might be around for a while, but why not just change it up and see what happens? And like you said, Mark, test. This gives you the opportunity to really get out there and put together some pretty good tests across the board, which is really nice. It's not like, I'm just going to do this for this one network. That all the networks probably will have that opportunity. So it's time to think maybe a little bigger and a little longer length.
Yeah. Besides pharma companies, what other types of content do you see might be able to benefit from a longer length? Beauty.
Telecom. Mark was saying more tech, health and fitness, anything that could tell a story, which is almost every category. Right. And I was saying earlier, even a law tort had a longer length spot. It was a 5-minute spot, and it's still out there. So again, these spots, some people, younger people might think they're disruptive, but again, if people are watching linear, they're not so young anymore, and they want to know about what's happening there. And they want the advertisers to be clear and concise, and I do think that it will give them the time to tell a story and tell a really good brand story as to why you should follow them. And I think it's a big deal, and it could be a deal breaker to not understand, well, how am I going to buy that pharmaceutical if I don't really understand what it does?
Right. So
Or,
the
you know,
education of the
how
consumer.
how will I invest in that tech? Or, you know, I don't want to buy that beauty product. I don't really know what it does. So I think it could only help.
Great.
Agreed. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the convergent marketplace, and this is more up your alley. With the proliferation of streaming and digital advertising, the effects it's having on linear TV, and how this has affected your business model and approaches to upfronts based on the current market.
Yeah, so we at Paramount, and I think at most of the larger media companies, it is a convergent approach, working with our agency partners to try to close as many deals that combine linear and streaming together. From a content standpoint, it's premium content, brand safe, right, on linear and on streaming. It goes for Paramount Plus, Hulu, Disney Plus, all of them, right? Premium content, brand safe, and we're working convergently to close as many deals as possible with an agency or with an advertiser across those verticals, right? Which is and that go back to the value. Comparing the stock market to our industry at the moment, value versus growth, right? The growth story is streaming, it is,
Right.
but there's been a little complaining about the CPMs there at the moment, and the value op currently might be just based on efficiencies. At the moment, is in linear, but we're here to combine. We're working to combine the two, and have growth on both sides. So. I think it's incumbent of data and transparency are two huge points that are going to be leading that growth going forward on the streaming side, and it's incumbent upon us as media partners to work with agencies to evaluate campaigns across both mediums and how we can find those efficiencies, linear and streaming together.
Streaming,
so if right now Our big show on Paramount, on our big original content show is Yellowstone, and Taylor Sheridan created that show, and he's has a number of shows coming out on Paramount. Yellowstone is running a full 8 episodes in November, December, but any other show a little bit about Paramount.
I would like.
But as an example
Keep
of the
talking.
drive to streaming, Yellowstone is all on Paramount, right? But then Taylor Sheridan is 1923, which is a prequel with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. So, it's going 2 episodes on Paramount and then Paramount Plus, right? So we're complementing both in terms of we want to keep our linear presence and have that continue to be strong, but the growth is in Paramount Plus subscribers, right? And the content, content is king, right? That's the model moving forward, I guess.
Subscription.
I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
So yeah, you're
AVOD.
looking to grow the
AVOD.
subscription
Yeah.
side for sure.
AVOD,
always,
right? I mean, I always had this argument with Peter Grassick, if you remember him, my old boss, about, he always said Netflix would never go to advertising. It's against their DNA. And I'm like, they're definitely going to do it at some point, because they're going to have to.
Right.
And my father worked at ABC in the tax department, and he worked on the ESPN deal back in the 80s. And if nobody probably remembers this, but ESPN didn't used to have advertising either. In their early days.
I certainly don't remember.
Yeah, they're subscription based. Yeah, but eventually it all goes that way, and I think we all benefit. I think we all benefit from competition in terms of it'll raise the ad industry to have Netflix with advertising. So anyway, I went off on a tangent there, but overall, it's been a seismic change to have HBO Max, Disney Plus, right? HBO never associated HBO with advertising ever when it was linear, right? Everybody, and now with Netflix shifting, I don't think there's anybody left who doesn't have it in the AVOD world. So it's interesting that from 2 years ago to now, let's say, the large change on the streaming side with those services and what they're offering, the offerings. and the amount of money that's spent on content is fascinating.
Yeah. A bunch of money on new content for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, Netflix,
Fascinating.
Paramount, yeah,
Yep.
everything. Thank you. We know how tough the market's been as of late. Can you give us some good news or some bright spots that you foresee? And what are the top 2 things you think performance media has achieved in the past year?
I think I covered that one, didn't
Oh, we just
I? I'm joking. I did touch on it. The bright spot for us has been the interest in original content across our networks, and the investment from a few agency and marketing partners who are willing to go into those originals, be it Yellowstone or the challenge or reality-based shows. We've had great success in the past year or so in those original shows, which didn't used to be the case a few years ago. We weren't selling spots
original
for shows.
content. Yeah.
So.
I think the bright spot for the industry is the fact that there have been so many new advertisers that are coming and continue to come. And speaking from the linear side, I mean, I think it's, despite this environment, the fact that they are still coming and still spending, maybe not at the levels they used to spend, but they are still coming and still spending, has a lot to do with all of us in this room. And the fact that we have all worked together to move forward, and our customers are loyal. They will find the content, and the advertisers find the customers via the content. So I think the fact that good content, loyal viewers, create loyal customers. So I think that we can all just move forward together and know that thankfully, yes, there still are new advertisers that are utilizing linear and will continue to utilize, and we're still seeing a lot of companies making a business out of the fact that I can't just do digital. I do still need linear television, and I don't know how long we've been talking about linear being dead, but we're far from dead. I think we still have a pretty good future, and that future might not be exactly the same way it is now, but we do have it. It'll just be maybe in program success, as opposed to day part success. But I think, again, we can all work together.
Or both.
Or
one
both.
complements the
That's
other.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So viewers are loyal. Customers want to find the right content, and it's our jobs to find the customers that love the content so that they can continue to make our industry successful and buy our brands and buy our products. And where are we advertising? Do people still have money? Yes, they do. Yeah. They do. They're just spending it a little bit more cautiously.
Right, they're being more cautious. They're buying more needs than wants, perhaps.
That's absolutely right.
We had that discussion at lunchtime.
Yep.
So
maybe they're not traveling as much, but they're certainly buying things.
Yeah.
Fascinating stat to me is that I was looking at the number of advertisers we had about 10 years ago, and then today across our networks. It was around 1,000 10 years ago, and it's about 1,000 now. But difference being is that probably 200 plus weren't there 10 years ago that are there now. They rose out of the financial crisis from 2010 and 2011. D2C based clients running 15s, and that's been a that's a shift, right? That's why there's so many 15s and 30s as opposed to 60s and 120s, in my opinion. But the fact that number is basically the same from 10 years ago, where we lost 200 advertisers that are no longer around, but been replaced by newer companies, let's say, in the last 10 years.
That continue to come.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, going back to the shorter shows, I mean, I think some advertisers feel like people's attention span isn't long enough to stick around for a 60 or a 120, but I don't really think that's the case. But like you say, the D2C advertisers are relying on that, more than.
And they're the ones with the spend, and they're the ones that continue to test and to come forward. And like I said, we're seeing a lot of new advertisers, and I think they're just continue to drive the business. And that's a statement, to have 1,000 advertisers and still have 1,000 advertisers. So
it is, yeah. I was amazement when I saw that.
All right, here's the $1 million question.
Let's go.
Give me your best guess time frame when you feel that the media market might finally right-size itself, and after a tough 2022, and why? And what are your two big predictions for the market in 2023?
I hate predictions. I was on a panel in Miami in March, and Michelle, you moderated that one, right? If you went back and looked at what I predicted then, I think I would probably be dead wrong. Whatever I said then. I think that it's a long haul, and we just have to continue to work together. I don't know, are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? What's the technical definition of a recession?
Right.
I think spend is down, and consumers are more conservative. Somebody was telling me California, the price of gas is up near $7 in some places, a gallon. So I think that there's uncertainty that's going to continue. It doesn't mean that we can't collectively get through it for all the ways we just covered in terms of
working together. Maybe some added value components, for media spend, and I think we're going to continue to have. I think the most important fact is that we're going to continue to have opportunity in linear that should benefit all media, streaming, whatever the radio, outdoor, all of it should be, whatever company you work for should be beneficial. The opportunity is there, and I think it will continue to be there to transform the business as we see it now for the long term, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense.
I remember the head of sales at Viacom 10 years ago saying, 12 years ago, financial crisis, that, just wait, you're going to see companies come out of this crisis and be around long, basically called like D2C, in my opinion. That's what he kind of called and these 200 plus clients who have come out of, at least for advertising purposes, came out of that, right?
D2C, yeah.
And are thriving. I think we're in the middle of that. It's hard to see it when you're in it. Right? I think we're in the middle of that. So I don't,
predictions are tough.
I wouldn't say it's going to be crystal
it's like
ball.
budgeting.
Turn around,
it's a scientific wild ass guess sometimes.
But
right?
I think once the world economy stabilizes, we're going to see a lot more advertisers feel more comfortable. Will that happen in the first half of 22? Probably not. I think we'll probably be in the same place that we are right now in the first half of the year. But I think once everybody feels a little bit more comfortable and we understand what is happening, are we in recession, are we not? If we are, how do we move from there? I think people just are stuck in the same place because they don't really know where they are. So as soon as they feel more comfortable, I think we will all feel more comfortable, and the clients will feel more comfortable with moving forward. Now, I've heard a mixed bag here where some are saying, yeah, we're planning on coming back really strong for first quarter. And then others are saying, yeah, I'm not so,
waiting.
Yeah, I think I want to, kind of see what happens, with the world economy going on around us. So I definitely think that the second half might be better than the first half. But, maybe we'll all be surprised and everybody will come back with huge budgets.
Everybody likes pleasant surprises.
In a much better place. But what was your second part of the question, Max?
What are your two big predictions for the market in 2023?
I think that we're going to see a lot better measurability. I think that will impact everybody moving forward. There are so many terrific systems out there that I think that when clients get to have that opportunity to see how much more focused they can be or how much more money they're making or not making, that is going to be a big deal. And I think trackability. I think with the advent of QR codes and people having the ability to track, everywhere and being able to say, oh, where there's a QR code on that billboard, or, we have the ability to work with iSpot and other big companies out there that can really help you hone in and have better accountability and better ROI because you can track everything better and you can measure everything better. And I think those are
the analytical data is way better than it has been.
And every agency is working on it. They all have their own proprietary systems, and everybody's getting better at it. And as I think people get better at it, they'll make more money, and they'll make more money more quickly because they'll be able to measure their buys and the efficiencies like this.
Right.
They are already doing it, and
They
I
are.
think it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
Less waste.
Yeah.
Cut out the waste.
So I think those are two really big bright spots I think we can all look forward to as, better measurability and better accountability.
Well, that's all I have
Trackability, sorry.
okay.
Yep.
That's all the questions I have from the podium. If there's somebody from the audience has some questions for these two great panelists.
Is it up? Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. You mentioned new advertisers, and throughout the last couple of days, we've sat in on sessions, and I've heard it from the agency perspective on what new advertisers will adopt in terms of, linear versus, streaming for their advertising. From your perspective, what do you see? What is the adoption rate of streaming versus linear with new advertisers, companies that are into television for the first time, perhaps, and so.
I think we're seeing they complement one another. Again, that sounds like a very basic answer, but it is true. You touched on it earlier about. One of your questions about answers about having it's not one or the other, in terms of
both.
having both. Like I've heard it from a number of marketers through the years, agencies, that we're going to pull our linear spend and we're just going to be in streaming or digital, and we're going to track it that way, see how that does. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh boy, we need to get back up on linear. We had a large account recently do that in third quarter, and they're coming back quickly because it didn't work.
They found out it wasn't viable.
Yeah, so I think they complement one another. Again, I go back to value and growth, and that doesn't mean there's no value on streaming or one or the other. They truly do complement one another, and if we can provide efficiencies on the linear side to help test out streaming, where the advertiser may be a little hesitant to jump into streaming, that's the opportunity we're referring to.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's one or the other, and they definitely both complement each other. It's been such a schizophrenic market that it's so hard to try to figure out where is it going, where am I going to get the most efficiency. So that's why, we're all so flexible, right? That's our business, to be flexible. So give your advertisers the opportunity to do both, and I'm sure they'll complement each other. Maybe the 30 and 60 will work better on digital, and maybe the longer lengths will work better on linear. And again, you're not using one media in lieu of the other, but you're working at a whole media mix and maybe offering clients the opportunity that they haven't had for a very long time. Because when we had 120s available on linear, streaming wasn't really as big as it is now. But we all know that that's the future, and we need to find a way to work it in and to be able to work together on it.
I think one stat I want to throw out there, 45% Paramount Plus subscribers are cord nevers or cord cutters. So if you're not on streaming, I'm sure that number is pretty close across all streaming platforms, right? You are missing a lot of people.
And on FETV, we're cord cuddlers.
I like that. I like that. That's good.
There was one up front here, Tom.
So I think during the pandemic, we saw a lot of the health and fitness, but specifically stuff that was geared to working in your house while people were home. And I think we've seen that turn around since that's ended. And I think that was like a really strong product category. Do you foresee not even a resurgence, I guess a surgence of another particularly strong product category emerging in the marketplace soon or now?
That's a good question.
That is a very good question. I've seen some new, now because again it's fourth quarter, it's open enrollment, there have been some new brands coming out, and actually some that have been successful in the last few weeks that are now like adding to their schedules because it's working for them. I think for us and just our entire industry, insurance has always been one of the strongest categories, as has fitness. I don't think we've seen a really, really strong fitness brand come out. I mean, there have been, you know, there's always your, how can I say, the performance marketing part of the fitness category, but there hasn't really been another Peloton. I mean, Mark, you can let me know
I
that.
think Netflix described this a year or two ago in one of their earnings reports, a pull forward. The pandemic pulled forward the subscriber numbers that they expected a couple years down the line, and they had huge increases, Netflix in particular, but that could also be said about Peloton, right? About Tonal, some of these health and fitness, right? You know, when nobody was going to a gym, right? I think the health and fitness category has always been strong in performance media, direct response, long form, right? And I think it's getting back, finding its sea legs again, for lack of a better term. And I think that it's going through a tough moment. That category in particular is going through a tough time. It's gonna right size. Do I see another category at the moment? You know, the pandemic definitely shifted. That category is a great example. Shifted, and also streaming subscriber numbers shifted. Trends that had never been shifted before like that, amongst other things.
I think food service brands. There's been a lot of like the Fresh Directs, and you know, there's been a lot of Hungry Root. There's been a lot. I've seen a lot of them come up in the last few years. I think that has been an emerging category. Has it emerged this year? Probably not, but it has emerged over the last few years for sure. There's a lot of people out there doing that and doing it successfully.
I mean, much like I have a 16, a 13, and a 10-year-old, and much like I always say that they will never have a cable box. Like, they just won't have a cable. Like, it's not a thing. They're not going to have a cable box. I think it's also I'm seeing it with my 16-year-old in food delivery service now. Oh, we're going to order Shake Shack, and
Grubhub.
it's going to get delivered. Yeah, like, I think that category is going to grow, because if my 16-year-old is doing that, the 10-year-old is doing that plus, right? So it is. I think that's a category that will only get bigger, no matter pandemic or not. Thank you.
Great question.
Maria, I'm just curious about your comment on linear television and 35 plus, but you do feel that linear does have a future. What can linear television do to attract younger viewers if they're interested? I mean,
did I say that linear didn't have a future?
No.
Oh.
You said it did have a future. I'm sorry.
You're scaring me.
I'm sorry.
Like, well, then I'll just leave right now.
I'm just, because you're saying
I'll
35.
see you at 207.
Yeah, exactly.
35 plus, but if it's going to have a future, it's going to have to attract a younger audience. So what could it be doing?
Good question.
I think that to attract a younger audience, I think exactly what Mark's with their company is doing with, let me show something on the linear networks first, that could be successful, and then move it over to the streaming side of it. Like, I'll give you a perfect example, Dancing with the Stars. That has an older audience on ABC, but now they've successfully moved that to Disney Plus, and guess what? My 25-year-old daughter watches it. Why? Because she knew about it from, you know, the linear side.
Does she have a cable box?
She does not.
Does not. Okay.
But once in a while, she used to watch Dancing with the Stars with me, and then when it moved, okay.
That's why I think one complements the other.
Absolutely.
I don't think.
Do I think they're
value
going to
in
be
both.
programming to younger people on linear? I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, Nickelodeon is in our universe, right? So, and all the Nickelodeon channels, kids,
yes.
And that is incredibly successful still. But it is that. I think what you're asking is that middle, you know, like that. I don't know. Let's say 15 to 25 or 35, and
I think reality shows have been very
Yeah.
popular with younger people, and you're seeing more of those types of shows. So I think if networks continue to put on those types of shows, they will definitely
Yeah.
attract and keep a younger audience.
the only original show that we have across our networks is Yellowstone. Everything else is reality.
Right.
Reality based,
But
which I think you'll see
reality-
across most cable networks.
Right. That reality. That's the
does,
key.
yeah.
If they continue to do that, like The Bachelor or shows like that, I think it's the Kardashians. I think find
somebody's
those
watching
shows
them.
and you'll keep
Yeah.
the young audience.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using that as an example, but reality TV, I think will help attract the younger audience to network television, to linear television again.
And also, there's things like YouTube TV and like Hulu Live, and I think, like you're saying about the cable box, and they might not have a cable box, but
they're gonna, yeah.
you're still getting linear television in a newer, more, I guess, younger age demo friendly delivery device.
Right, and they're finding the content. It's
Right,
the
it's
content.
all about the content,
It's
yeah.
producing the right content for that audience, and I do think they have it down. There's just less of it on linear, but they're finding it in other places, like on
and
Hulu,
I would-
like on Disney
yeah.
Plus, like yeah.
I should amend that statement. If I'm paying for it, I'm sure they'll still have a cable box.
Yeah.
But if I'm not paying for it, they won't have but sports is also a big
That's
component,
another
right?
one.
So if we're a big sports family, so if
Live
they can't
sports.
watch the Yankees like they want to watch them, then like I flew out here Sunday night and I watched them lose Game 4 on the plane, but I authenticated through the TBS app and watched it on my phone. I don't think there's any other way I could have watched that if I didn't subscribe to Verizon.
Yeah,
Fios.
I was watching it. Yeah, on.
Right, so.
Yeah.
So I'll never give that up because that's
Yeah.
until unless they change the sports rights. But
I got Dish Anywhere, so I could watch
great.
it on Dish
Yeah.
Anywhere. Yeah.
All the games all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Oh, one more?
Declan.
Hi, thank you both for your time. Katie Cifarelli from the Walt Disney Company. Touching on the data conversation, earlier this morning, the agency Roundtable asked publishers to be more transparent with data. I'm curious from your POV and from the publisher standpoint, how do you approach sharing data with our advertisers and clients?
That's all you, Mark.
That's all me.
That's
yeah.
all you, baby.
That is not my forte exactly, but we are working on, for example, we're working on behind the scenes trying to, like we have partnerships with VideoAmp, with iSpot, which to be more transparent, but it depends on, each advertiser and or agency and what they're willing to share as well. We understand as a company that is the path forward, and we're working towards solving that. I know I'm not necessarily answering your question, but there should be some enhancements coming out that we'll be able to offer, some offerings coming up that will improve, less waste, and will improve our granular data that we can share. But I don't know exactly what we can or can't share on that side. How do you guys handle it?
Wasn't expecting we're very much in the same boat.
Yeah, it's hard. It's challenging.
Hard. And I think for us with Hulu, a lot of our affiliate agreements as far as content coming from other partners and publishers, we can't necessarily say that you ran in these shows that were from Fox. So legally we can't. So we do a lot of genre, which Amy had touched on this morning in the panel, that we can share genre targeting, but specifically like you ran in, Kardashians, or you ran in something specific, we can't get that granular. So
Which is a challenge on the streaming side, right? That's what we're really talking about, right? Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But then when people pay more to know, you know what I mean? Like that's like when they pay more money to know the real answer.
But it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Yeah.
Or on the flip side, are they going to want to start cherry picking things and excluding things? I mean, we're all figuring it out. But thank you for your.
Yeah, no, I think that, and you're touched on. You're 100% right. That is a huge component on the digital streaming side that is going to continue to evolve and could, put things over the top eventually on spend, let's say.
Got time for one more if you want? Or we could just all get the heck out of here. Thank you guys. Big round of applause
Thank you
for
very
these
much.
guys.
You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Great way to close things out here. Half hour from now, we'll be open at 2:07 for the closing party. If you happen to bring a Rock Band t-shirt, put it on, come hang out. We're going to have a good time. So enjoy. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.